Hi everybody, I'm back. This is part 3. I'm going to show a couple quick things off that I forgot to mention in the previous video that's related to combat, and then I'm going to show off a couple things for the ship. So the first thing I want to show off is with combat. First, if your character falls in battle, he gets back up again but has an injury. For example, Aloth here, he fell recently to getting dropped down to 0 hit points, and he has bruised ribs now, -20 fortitude. Now when I camp, which I should show off actually as well, that goes away. If he gets 3, well, that's bad, but getting a 4th one is permanent death, so don't let that happen. Okay. Alright, now the other thing I wanted to show off before I get to camping is I'm going to fight this thing. There is a way, and it's very cool, and it was added post-release, to re-target your spells. If you're playing in real time, and you drop a fireball on a bunch of guys, and then they move around, you can recast it. Now, you're going to notice that I have initiated Aloth to cast a fireball right around here. It's outside the range of fireball, so he's set to move. The little footstep icons mean he's currently moving to that location. We're going to watch him move. We're going to watch him. Alright, he stops.
Not too alarmed.
I don't know why he wasn't casting my fireball. Okay, I must have misclicked something. Alright, let's do this. Let's cast fireball just outside of his range. Okay, now he's going to walk, and then he's going to stop walking, and once he stops walking, and once he's no longer like recovering from the previous action, which in this case he was casting Spirit Shield, and that must have a very quick recovery time. Oh, 0. So Spirit Shield's cool because it's very fast to cast, and you can instantly do the next thing you want to do. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at what abilities and spells to pick. It's nice to have a couple spells you can just do very quickly. Spirit Shield is actually a very good spell because it gives +3 armor rating and a concentration stack for 70 seconds. That's a long time, and that's a good chunk of armor. So, and for him to be able to drop that very quickly is very nice. Alright, so now once he starts casting the fireball spell, you've got this little retarget button here. If you click it, you can retarget and put that fireball where you want. He doesn't lose any time. It still counts down. And drop it. There you go. Now, if he were to, like, the recovery time on fireball is 3 seconds. So if he wants to drop another fireball spell, he sure can. But he has to wait 3 seconds. That's right there. Once that 3 seconds pops up, he starts casting it. He's chanting. I can still retarget this. Even though he's right on the edge of casting it, I can still retarget that guy. And he drops it right where I want to drop it. So there you go. I don't know what my other members of my team are doing because I wasn't paying attention to this fight.
Let's get started.
One of my guys is just standing around. Great. Okay, so hopefully we can just get this fight wrapped up real quick, and then I'll camp because I want to get rid of Aloth's injury. Alright, there we go. Okay, nice.
Yeah?
Most of my AI is set to just fight, by the way. We can talk about AI for a little bit in here. You can turn AI off. Actually, what you can do is you can turn it off for the whole group. You select everybody, either with drag and drop or hitting the backspace key selects everybody. And you can just turn off the AI entirely for everybody. Set it so that everybody's set to auto attack only, which is very nice because it means they just attack and then you are controlling their special abilities entirely. Or set it to their script. So let's look at an individual character by clicking on just that one character. And then if you right click, this is the individual scripts. So my monk right now is set to use all of the abilities of the monk aggressive script followed by the Cypher cautious script. You can change these. You can even create new ones. Open behavior editor. You can actually open the editor and look at what's happening here. These default scripts are very impressive. Here's cautious Cypher. They go in the order. The AI values what it's going to do based on how high in the list it is. So first thing it wants to do is Valorious Echoes. I don't even have that ability. In fact, I don't have Valerius Echoes, I don't have Pain Block, I don't have Echoing Shield, I don't have Whispers of Treason, I only have Puppet Masters. Of all my spells I have, for this script, the only thing my character actually has is Puppet Master. So it sounds cool to be like, I'm going to set this to Cypher Cautious, but this is not scripted to do everything. In fact, it's only scripted to, if the target doesn't have, the not selected here, if the target doesn't have an intellect buff, like Confused, Charmed, or Dominated, Puppet Master him. So, that's cool, but I don't want my guy to try and Puppet Master something. I want to be able to pick the guy that I Puppet Master. I want to be able to pick the thing that's got the weakest, you know, will save, for example. So, Cypher Aggressive, a little bit different, but here's the thing about my Cypher. I love having him have a ton of points to spend to really sink into like an 80-point Soul Annihilation. That's what I want him for. That's what he's doing. He's doing monk abilities most of the fight until he builds up enough to do this. Okay, so because of that, I set him to attack only. Adir, I actually don't mind him popping all his abilities off. He's got some great abilities. I like to manually make sure he does Discipline Strikes because it just takes one click and then it's instantaneous because of the fact that there's no recovery time and it's instant. So I like to just pop that in the strikes myself. I just do that. But otherwise, yeah, feel free. Use Aggressive Fighter and Aggressive Rogue. Use all your abilities. That's great. He will use them intelligently. Like the default scripts are pretty smart as far as that goes. Like Fighter Aggressive. He will do his own Discipline Strikes. He'll do it right away. I don't have to do it for him, but I like to. Then he will try and close a distance. I don't have any of these abilities. Then he will knock down, which we've seen him do several times when I'm not controlling him. If a guy is not, if he's got at least 2 points to spend, he'll knock down. I could change this actually to say, yeah, you've got 1. Go ahead and use it. Rogue Aggressive. He's set to, basically, if the target doesn't have an affliction of some kind, then give it 1. Give it a crippling strike. Give it a blinding strike. Now, the problem with this particular script is I like to blind guys. It takes 2 points of Guile. That's the rogue resource. Like how monks have mortification and wounds to spend. Rogues have Guile that they spend on their abilities. This takes 2. Crippling strikes takes 1. No matter what, they both give him an affliction. The target, not him. And with an affliction, your rogue does more damage from sneak attacks. So the goal here with this particular AI script is just giving the target something debilitating so that your rogue is hitting harder with sneak attacks. But I like to blind guys, and this script by default will attempt to crippling strike, which is nice. I mean, you want your enemies to have less dexterity and make them attack less often. But boy, is it better to have them be blinded. They can't hit. They're slower because the recovery time is increased. They're always considered flanked, which, by the way, also triggers sneak attack. They have a reduced accuracy on top of the -5 perception. Their range is reduced for all their spells and range attacks. And I guess they're immune to gaze attacks, so that's kind of neat. Okay, so I think maybe what I should do is he's got to escape. See, I almost wonder if what I should do with him is delete that. Actually, let's just get rid of that. We'll have him, his fighter, he can do whatever fighter stuff he wants, but save the rogue abilities for me to pick. Okay. So that way he can stand that. This guy, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have him on auto attack. Same thing as my guy, I should say. Because I want to be able to save up his focus. I don't want him to open a fight up with, you know, using some of these very useful skills. But he's got access to some really powerful things. Like he can silent scream for 40. It does a bunch of raw damage. Raw damage cannot be resisted. It's immune. It doesn't matter if you have like fire or ice or physical resistance. Raw damage will just do 14 to 23 damage and it stuns. And it's a powerful effect, but he needs 40 points to spend it. Or I can give one of my allies Robust, which makes him very hardy. If a guy's about to drop for 40 focus and for almost no cast time, I can just pop this on him. It regenerates him, extra armor, extra health. Very powerful. But it only works if he's been building up his points. So I'm going to have him in auto attack only, so I can once again control when and how I use his abilities. Aloth. A little less important, because he's got a lot of spells he can use. And the AI likes to prioritize the weaker ones. Like, he'll almost always start with a Spirit Shield, which is totally fine. because like we saw, it's very quick and doesn't really take any time, and then it keeps him safe. In fact, the fights where he's dropped on me is usually the ones where I don't let him cast it. I just open up with my own spell. So we'll let him stand that, and the same thing will go for her. We'll just let her stick with whatever script she's got here. Cautious Priest. She's a single class character, so they only have one script by default. Okay. There you go. That's AI scripts. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, and I have a video on this on my YouTube channel that I doubt has become any kind of like obsolete or anything. I'm sure it's totally fine. If you go into the editor here and you open the editor, you can click on the plus button here and you can make your own. Like, I could make one for my guys. If I didn't want to have to babysit them, I could like recreate one for them. And I think that's cool. And actually, at some point while I'm playing this game, this run through, I will almost for sure do that. And maybe when I get to that point where I feel like I have too many abilities and I'm controlling too many things at once and I don't want to deal with manually clicking off my lightning strikes anymore, maybe I will do just that. And I'll record it. But anyway. Okay, so let's talk about camping. Camping is something I keep meaning to talk about and I keep forgetting about. Alright, so you can camp whenever you want on your ship, or obviously you can go to an inn and rest. When you rest, particularly at an inn, you get some bonuses that last until the next time you rest. So let's take a look at this guy. Forgetful Knight. Minus 3% damage taken, 10% plus 10% damage, minus 3 dexterity. This is something I gave him while he was camping, and these effects will last till I camp again. Same goes for this guy, plus 15 max health. He has 15 extra health because I gave him Tar Loaf when we went camping. Earlier, I had gone to a fairly high-end inn that gave us all +1 to our spell power for spells, which of course only affected a few of us that have spells. Actually, almost all of us except for Aleph have spells, or Adir. Yeah, so that was actually a pretty good inn for us. And then it gave us extra healing, so like she benefited the most from it. Because she actually heals people. So when we camp in the wild, you can actually give items to your characters and get those bonuses. So I don't have any more Forgetful Knights, it's grayed out. I don't have any more Seafood Stew, and I don't have any more Glazed Chops. I do have Tar Loaf. I got plenty of Tar Loaf. You can go into crafting and you can make potentially some food. I don't think I have any ingredients, but theoretically I could be like, I'm going to craft a Captain's Banquet and give myself 20% bonus damage to spells, fast action speed, immune to afflictions for intellect, immune to perception afflictions, immune to resolve afflictions. Like, you know, that's awesome. But I bet you these, like, luminous lobster and oysters, probably expensive. So, you know, that's what you get. But you can also just use, like, raw poultry or rice, which some of these are actually totally fine. I mean, you can add, if nothing else, you can always feed your guys, like, hardtack, which does nothing, but you have to have some food in order to camp. I can't rest right now, I don't think. Oh, I guess it let me. You used to have some kind of food item. Oh my. Oh, he lost. Oh, that's not good. Is that because is that like a side effect of that Forgetful Knight? Well, we're gonna camp again. By the way, there's no camping supplies, so it doesn't matter. We're gonna give him something else. We're gonna have some fresh fruit. If nothing else, silverfish is good. I have a lot of it, and it's +2 intellect, which makes his buffs last longer. So we're going to give these guys all extra intellect, and then we're going to rest. This is a nice little cutscene. Sometimes this is not a cutscene, sometimes it's a real cutscene that happens, but right now it's just a camping cutscene. Alright, silverfish, yay! Everybody's got silverfish or Tar Loaf. There you go.
Happy.
Successfully camping, he's no longer wounded, and everybody's got all their empower points back.
Show me.
There you go. Alright, now, ship management. You can hit H or click that little button there. This is the ship. This is the Defiance. Now, you can actually rename this, I believe, and then this name will be on the side of the ship and everything. You can change some of the colors, and again, you can kind of customize how the ship looks in-game. You'll see it when you're docked, you'll see it when you're in a cutscene on the ocean, all kinds of times. It's very cool. Set active ship, because you can have multiple ships. You can buy bigger and better ships. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. a lot of people bashed the naval combat and the ship aspect in this game and preferred the fortress of the first game. And I was one of those people for a long time. But the last time I played, and now this time again, I really enjoy what they've done here. It's fun to get better, cannons and upgrade your ship with them. It's fun to have deckhands that you recruit or find as quest rewards that are really good at something. Like this guy is a really good cannoneer. He's got 2 ranks in cannoneer, and he has sailor experience of 17, thanks to some of the events and fights that we've been in on the sea. You can buy like better hulls, you can buy better sails, you can get all kinds of cool stuff. It's fun to like have the money to buy a really big giant ship of the line and load it down with cannons, and then when you get into a firefight with someone on the sea, you can just laugh maniacally at the thunderous sound of the cannons. Oh my god, it's so satisfying. So this is the ship stuff right here, and the ship combat is a whole other thing. I'm not in the middle of a combat, so it's kind of hard to, I have a guy here I can't even use, so she's just sitting, she's chilling out. I don't even have a way right now to technically, fight, because I'm in the middle of a dungeon, so I'm not going to be able to show that off, but I can show off how the food system works. So what happens is, as you sail around, exploring the world, in your big giant ship, time's passing, and every day you have to pay upkeep on your crew, which is like 20 gold or some. It's not much. I mean, I think maybe it gets to be a pretty good sized number, but by then you've got so much money, it's never really relevant. But more importantly, though, you lose food. You have to feed and give liquid, to some kind of water, to your crew. Now, if you give them water, they lose 1 point of morale. And if you give them hardtack, they lose 1 point of morale. So you can lose 2 morale per day just feeding your crew hardtack and water. But it gets the job done. Now, you want to keep their morale high because it gives them bonus experience when you get through a fight or through an event. How do you do that? Feeding them vegetables is better than losing morale, so I'm just trying to get through my vegetables right now. Fruit's better, plus 1 morale. These nuts here are 0 morale. Rice is 0 morale. Poultry's plus 1 though. Ale, 0 for some reason. I would have thought that would be higher. So I don't have a lot of like, well, okay, ale being 0 is better than water, right? Now the question is, how do you get them to drink or eat what you want? You do that by putting the things you want them to eat next on the far left, and they work their way to the right. So they're going to go through vegetables, tarloaf, rice, palmstone. I might move this rice up here because I've been eating that for camping. You'll notice most of the food has 2 lines: ship crew morale bonus modifier and effects. The ship crew morale is only what happens when the ship crew eats this food. The effect is if you eat this food while camping. So there you go. I'm going to move this like this. There we go. And then I got this weird forbidden flesh pie here. We're probably going to sell that. That's human. We're not, and so is this kith meat. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, so we got more tarloaf. When you pick up more food from looting and stuff, it doesn't instantly go into the food section. It just goes in your cargo. So you have to manually drag and drop it up there. Hagfish is also gross. But it's not. But it's better than hardtack, apparently. I'd rather eat hardtack, I think. But fire kelp is also food. Here we got some rum, plus 3 morale. Let's give the boys rum. Actually, we'll give them rum later. They can have it after their morale's dropped a little bit from water for a while. And I don't know if I have a lot of. You can actually filter by food and drink and stuff here too. I don't know if I have anything else here, liquid-wise. Rice wine. We'll put that there too. So, there you go. Now we've got some setup here, and you've got cannons, and you've got, this is a deckhand. Deckhands do all kinds of different things. When you're in the naval combat, it's a choose-your-adventure style dialogue. You want to have someone in all these roles, so if a fire breaks out, you can order your deckhands to go put it out. If you're going to be doing a dangerous maneuver like juking so that your ship turns 180 degrees, so you're lining up your other sides of your cannons with the target, you want to make sure you have a pretty solid helmsman at the wheel. You want the cannoneers to have good stats because that improves your chance of hitting with your cannons. You want to have a surgeon on board. You have a cook. You've got the navigator. He's very useful for events like having to get through like a really tough, little sailing expedition through a reef, for example. And then you've got people who are like kind of on the sidelines. They're going to get experience points without doing anything. But if you get someone injured, like if one of your deckhands goes down, you can come into this interface mid-combat and drag and drop someone like this person to replace your injured deckhand. Or this guy has maximum experience. I should technically move her up here. She has 1 point of deckhand. Let her get some experience for a while. Why not? This guy doesn't need any more. If you put anyone in any role, they will get experience in that role. But it's better to start off, assign the roles that make sense. Okay, so I think that's all I really wanted to talk about with ship combat. I did have one miscellaneous thing about the journal I thought was kind of interesting. By default, it's classically set for its filtering, and here's all the different, factions and the various tasks before me per faction. But you can, and I found this to be very useful, sort it by location. So if you're in, like right now I'm in the Gullet, so I can focus on these quests that are given to me by these people within this location. I found that to be very useful, and also just like enemies, you've got like if you're a little lower level in the quest, you should still feel free to tackle it. If it's 2 especially, 1 is probably fine as well. 3 is a little dicier. Red I would skip, because this is at least 4 levels higher than your character and could be 10 or 15. So maybe just skip that for now. Okay, Civilopedia. We talked about afflictions, and I mentioned about it yesterday, and I couldn't think of all the afflictions that there were. Here they are. You can look them up. So, inspirations are the good things, and afflictions are the bad things. So, fit is +5 Constitution, which is just like a bunch more hit points. But if you get a level 2, you get extra armor rating. And we've seen robust, it's armor rating and healing. This is the 3rd level of Constitution affliction, for example, and it's the one that Seraphim can cast that Cypher spell on. That's great. It's fantastic. The other side of the coin, though, is if you become enfeebled, you have -5 Constitution, you cannot be healed, and any hostile effects applied last 50% longer. That's real bad. That's the 3rd rank. Weakened, I think, is, -5 con. Healing is reduced by half. Sickened is -5 con. Healing is reduced by 25%. And enfeebled is cannot be healed at all. Hostile effects applied longer. So there you go. It's weird to me that they go strongest, next strongest, weakest, but then they go weakest, strongest, hardiest. Anyway, there you go. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then, so here's the rest of them for dexterity and everything else. And then you've got, like, different effects. The intellect afflictions are charmed, confused, dominated. Intellect aspirations can go all the way up to smart, or acute. +5 intellect, and their powers and spells are at +1 power level. It's pretty awesome. Periodically gain... Oh, this must be the highest one. Oh, I think it's just alphabetized. I think that's what's going on. Alphabetized. So, Brilliant is the best intellect inspiration. It gives you extra power level, extra intellect, and you just apparently randomly regain class resources. I wonder what gives Brilliant. I don't think I've seen that very often. And you can look up any of this stuff if you want to just try and figure out what is happening to your characters. The Beastry is actually awesome. It's very fun. Unlike the first game, I think everything fills in like immediately, and that's how you can kind of see when you hover your cursor over an enemy how much defenses it has, attributes, stats, things like that. You get to see some of that stuff. So I have already fought a couple things, and it's got like a really fun art style. And every enemy has different abilities and features. You know what? I guess I haven't fought enough boars to know what their abilities are. But I think you always start knowing their defenses. These guys can become enraged. Let's see, and then you have different effects for like what an active ability is versus one that's modal, which is just toggled on or off, or passive ability that's just always on, or stacking. There's a lot of effects that stack, and also stacking in regards to does this ring of +3 work with my gloves of +3 of the same thing? So they explain here how that works, which is if a wizard spell grants +3 deflection, and a Paladin's aura grants +5, you get +5, not +8. So that's generally how that works. And that usually just keeps the numbers from being crazy. Here's your notes. You can put your own notes together, and tutorials. There's tutorials explaining how to do various things. Like here's how the chants work for the Chanter class, if you're like curious, or grimoires, and how those work for the wizards party AI. So yeah, all right. I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
That's about 90 full minutes ish on how this stuff works. If I get into a ship combat, I'll try and remember to record that and talk about it. We'll call that a soft part 4 if I get to that point. And otherwise, I think that might do it, at least for now. So if you guys have any questions or there's something I didn't cover or forgot to cover, feel free to hit me up in the comments, and I'm happy to jump in and reply to the comment or even make another video if I feel like it's warranted. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Have a great one. And please, get out there, play Pillars of Eternity 2. It's such a great game. Buy it for a friend. I don't care. Do something. It deserves all the success in the world. And I know they have a new first-person RPG-looking, Skyrim-looking game coming that's set in the Pillars universe, which I'm very, very excited about, because it could be very cool. But I still want a Pillars 3 at some point, and we aren't going to get it if we don't support them. So that's my spiel. Have a good one. See you next time.